You may not realize it, but even a friendship of many years can quietly harm your mental health after 60. That friend may never shout, never openly hurt you, but each time you meet, you leave feeling more drained than uplifted. These are the early signs of a toxic friendship that many people overlook. In this video, we will explore 7 subtle signs that a friendship is no longer healthy, and more importantly, how you can protect your energy, peace, and dignity. Because sometimes, holding on to a relationship is more dangerous than letting it go. One of the most subtle yet dangerous signs is when jokes between friends begin to feel like hidden daggers behind a smile. That friend might say, "I was only joking," but you leave the conversation feeling small, belittled, even hurt. Don't dismiss those words. They are no longer harmless humor, but disguised mockery that erodes trust and respect. This is the first sign that a friendship is no longer a safe haven, but one that is quietly stealing your peace of mind. Here's a truth that startles many after 60. Not every friend you've kept for years brings you peace. Some relationships may look harmless on the surface, but in reality, they quietly drain your energy, your confidence, and even your self-respect. The danger lies in the fact that these signs are often so subtle that they're easy to ignore, until one day you realize that friendship has become a burden rather than a source of support. The first sign is jokes that carry hidden mockery. That friend might smile and tease, "Oh, your memory is really slipping these days," or "You're always slower than everyone else." They claim it's just a joke, but behind the smile is a tiny dagger that makes you feel diminished. And when these jokes repeat over and over, you start to believe you truly are inadequate, and slowly, you withdraw. Ellen, 72, once shared that her closest friend often teased her about her shaky hands when pouring tea. At first, Ellen laughed it off, but she later realized that every time they met, she left the conversation feeling sad and self-conscious. That was no longer humor. It was mockery disguised as friendship. A true friend should lift you up, not make you doubt yourself. If you feel hurt by such jokes, try telling them clearly. A respectful friend will understand and adjust. But if they continue to ignore your feelings, then it may be time to ask yourself honestly, does this relationship still bring you peace? And once you've become cautious about mocking jokes, another subtle sign often hides behind the mask of concern. The second sign is selfishness disguised as care. It often comes in words like, "I only want to help you because you need me." At first, it sounds warm and kind. But if you look closely, you'll see it often comes with control. A real friend wants you to be free, to make choices that are best for you. But a selfish friend uses help as a way to impose how you should live, think, and even feel. Robert, 68, once believed his friend was his greatest support. That friend would often say, "Don't decide yet, let me do it for you. I know better than you." At first, Robert felt relieved. But over time, he realized he no longer had the right to choose. From daily routines to other relationships, everything had to pass through that friend's opinion. What once looked like concern turned into dependency, stripping him of independence. A healthy relationship respects independence, especially in later life, when maintaining freedom and dignity matters most. If you notice that a friend constantly makes you feel incapable and dependent on their decisions, it's time to set boundaries. Be clear that you appreciate their help, but you also need space to make your own choices. And if, after all, they still continue to use care as an excuse to control you, then perhaps it's no longer friendship, it's a burden you need to let go. After recognizing selfishness disguised as care, you may encounter another sign, even subtler, because it often comes with a smile and beautiful words. The third sign is envy hidden behind compliments. Have you ever had a friend say to you, "Wow, it's amazing that you can still travel at your age. I wish I could, but it must be exhausting for you, right?" Or, "You're so lucky to have children who care about you." Not everyone gets that, you know. Those words sound like compliments, but if you listen closely, you'll notice a tiny sting of comparison and envy hidden within. Linda, 70, once shared that every time she excitedly talked about the art class she had just joined, her close friend would say, "Oh, I really admire you. I never have time to enjoy things like that." At first, Linda thought it was just a casual remark, but gradually she realized that after such praise, she always felt guilty, as if she were bragging or being selfish for living for herself. Eventually, she stopped sharing her joys. That is the dangerous impact of compliments laced with envy. Instead of encouraging you, they make you shrink back, question your own happiness, and even feel guilty for living well. A true friend will be happy when you are happy. They will encourage you to continue, not plant guilt in your heart. If you notice these two-sided compliments repeating, be bold enough to say that your joy doesn't need to be compared to anyone else's. And if they continue to lace their words with envy, remember, that friendship isn't giving you positive energy. It is quietly eroding your happiness. But toxicity in friendship doesn't only come from envy or backhanded compliments. Sometimes, it shows up most clearly in moments when you truly need a shoulder to lean on. And that brings us to the fourth sign: avoidance when you express your true emotions. Imagine you're going through a difficult time, declining health, financial worries, or simply the loneliness that often comes with aging. You open your heart to a close friend, hoping for someone to listen or offer comfort. But instead of listening, they quickly brush it off with phrases like, "Oh, don't think too much about it," or "You'll be fine," or even abruptly switch to a completely different subject. These words may sound light, but they leave a heavy emptiness inside you. David, 72, once shared that after losing his life partner, the grief sometimes felt unbearable. He turned to his friends, but some of them only avoided the subject, even changing the topic to escape his pain. That's when David realized a heartbreaking truth. They didn't truly want to share the emotional burden with him. And that made him feel lonelier than being alone. A true friend doesn't always have the answers, but they know how to listen. They let you speak freely, cry if you need to, and breathe out the weight in your heart. On the other hand, if someone constantly avoids your feelings or makes you feel like a burden whenever you share them, it's a clear sign that the friendship is no longer a safe refuge. And once empathy disappears, friendship becomes just an empty shell. That's why, if you notice repeated avoidance, ask yourself, does this relationship still bring connection and healing, or is it only making your wounds deeper? And when empathy begins to fade, another form of toxicity can creep in. This is the fifth sign: when control and imposition start to appear in friendship. At first, it may sound unbelievable. After all, friendship is supposed to be built on equality. Yet many people turn themselves into the driver's seat, making decisions for you in both big and small parts of your life. They often say, "I only want what's best for you." But hidden behind those words are subtle commands forcing you to follow their way. Helen, 69, once shared that whenever she wanted to try something new, whether joining a dance class or taking a short trip, her longtime close friend would always step in. "Oh, you shouldn't do that. At your age, it's too risky." Or, "I think you should listen to me. I know what's better for you." At first, Helen thought it was genuine concern, but she soon realized she was slowly losing her right to decide, and the feeling of being restrained became more and more suffocating. A real friend may offer advice, but they never turn you into someone who must obey. When imposition appears, friendship is no longer about sharing. It becomes an invisible chain that robs you of freedom and joy. If you find yourself frequently being controlled, needing permission, or enduring criticism every time you don't follow their way, that's a sign the relationship has become toxic. Friendship after 60 should be a space where you can breathe and truly be yourself, not a life lived under the shadow of someone else's control. When control has already taken away the comfort in friendship, another sign can quietly drain your spirit. This is the sixth sign, when negative energy overshadows every encounter. Have you ever noticed that with certain friends, just sitting beside them for a while leaves you feeling exhausted? They complain endlessly, repeat the same old troubles, and always seem to pull you down into their gloom. Of course, everyone has moments of sadness and times when they need to share. But if every single conversation turns into a gray rain cloud, then it is no longer healthy sharing. It has become an energy drain. Samuel, 72, shared that after every meeting with a longtime friend, he felt more tired than uplifted. That friend always talked about failures, fears, and rarely had anything positive to say. Over time, Samuel realized it took him days to regain his emotional balance after each visit. That was when he understood this was no longer a nourishing friendship. It had become a burden. The truth is, a friend's mood can directly impact your mental health. After 60, your energy is more precious than ever, and it deserves to be nurtured by optimism, comfort, and the warmth of companionship. If you often walk home with a heavy heart, that's the time to reconsider the relationship, because a true friend brings light into your life, not darkness. And finally, the clearest sign that a friendship has turned toxic is when respect slowly disappears. No relationship, no matter how long it has lasted, can survive without mutual respect. Yet sometimes, after years of closeness, certain people forget boundaries and forget that you, too, deserve to be heard and valued. They may cut you off mid-sentence, dismiss your opinions, or even make remarks that leave you feeling small and disregarded. Linda, 70, once shared that her closest friend of decades had begun to dismiss her views on almost everything. When Linda expressed her wish to join a community gardening group, her friend responded mockingly, "At your age, what's the point of doing something like that? It's useless." That comment, seemingly harmless, made Linda feel that she was no longer respected the way she once was. It was then that she realized this friendship had changed. Respect is the foundation of every relationship, and in friendships later in life, it matters even more. Because when respect is gone, you no longer feel safe or whole within that friendship. If you feel constantly belittled, unheard, or devalued in the eyes of the other person, that is a strong signal that you need to reset boundaries, or even let go, in order to protect your peace of mind. A true friend will never make you doubt your own worth. On the contrary, they will lift you up and remind you that you are deserving of love and respect. At this stage of life, friendship is not about quantity, it's about quality. If a relationship leaves you drained, it is no longer friendship. It is a burden you need to release. Protect your energy and your inner peace. And in the next video, we will explore other hidden signs in daily life that can quietly affect happiness in later years. Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss it, because what you learn today can change the way you live in the years ahead.